About 2 years ago, Yahoo conducted a poll. They focused on people who watch sports on a regular basis. Now, the reason they focused specifically on hardcore sports fans is because outside of the NFL at the time, ratings across sports leagues were drastically declining. Yahoo, they asked them, has the woke fungus caused you to abandon your sports viewing habits? Unsurprisingly, over half of the respondents said they had quit watching sports altogether once they were infected with the woke fungus. Now, there was no poll needed to unveil this information. I have been saying this for almost 3 years now. Of course, you will never hear this same narrative from the mainstream media. No, 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 no. It's not our woke faith that's turning away viewers. It's cord cutting. It's Mother Russia's fault. It's the COVID lockdowns. Better yet, it is Donald Trump's fault. Orange man bad. There were so many excuses made that the media eventually ran out of them. No one was biting into the shit sandwich that they were serving. Millions of people have thrown the NBA into the WNBA dump. Coming out of last weekend, the NBA was riding high. Ratings for the opening weekend of the playoffs, the highest they have been in 16 years. Fast forward 1 week later, ratings for most of these NBA playoff series are down double digits. Even the king of queefs, LeBron James, is struggling to draw respectable numbers. One of the millions of people who have turned off the NBA is Phil Jackson. In my opinion, Phil Jackson, greatest coach of all time across all sports. Well, Casey, that is because Phil Jackson coached nothing but legendary stars. Anyone can win titles with Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. Bullshit. If that were the case, how come Doug Collins wasn't winning titles with Michael Jordan? Coaching in the NBA is all about managing egos, and when it comes to managing egos, when it came to motivating, getting the best out of his players, Phil Jackson was the best. He was brilliant. After leaving Detroit, Dennis Rodman, he was viewed as a distraction. Dennis Rodman, he was viewed as a player who couldn't be handled until he played for Phil Jackson. Michael Jordan was the most prolific scorer in the league, biggest star in the world. He was a ball hog. Phil Jackson was able to convince Michael Jordan that the only way they were going to win was if Michael Jordan shared the ball with his teammates. He told him up front, you're not going to put up 35 points a game in my offense. You're not going to win scoring titles, but you'll win NBA titles. Now, we have not heard much from Phil Jackson since he retired from coaching. I assume he spends his time up in Montana on the ranch watching the cows sniff the ass of the goats. The landscape of the NBA, it has drastically changed since Phil Jackson walked away. The game has changed on the court, and it has damn sure changed for the worse off the court. The biggest change happened in the summer of 2020 when NBA players decided to stop playing basketball to assume the position of fellatio and enjoy the grilled woke wiener. Phil Jackson has kept his opinion of the modern NBA to himself until now. Now, before I share his thoughts with you on the modern NBA and their decline, let's take a minute to get into the sponsor for today's video. My boys over at Patriots for Prosperity. We have been programmed to believe that throwing our money into a 401k is the best way to build wealth. These financial experts, they have convinced us that putting money in a qualified retirement plan is the best decision. Seems to me the banks are benefiting the most. They have your money locked away for decades, and if you ever want to access your money too soon, you get penalized. How dare you ask for your own money? Luckily, there is a better option available. Have you guys ever wondered where the super wealthy keep their money? Guys like Walt Disney, J.C. Penney, Donald Trump. They use what my friends at Patriots for Prosperity call the Liberty Asset. Been around for over 150 years, never failed to turn a profit. Instead of having the bank's best interest in mind, my friends over at Patriots for Prosperity, they have your best interest in mind. They will help you find the best place to store your wealth. And the best part is, you always have access to your money and it grows tax-free. Me personally, I am using the Liberty Asset and the infinite banking concept. I encourage you guys to do the same. Go to www.thelibertyasset.com/behindtheline or click the link in the description below to see if the Liberty Asset is right for you. All right, if you were to ask current, former NBA head coaches to give their thoughts on the league, 99.9% of their responses are going to be the same. I love this league. I am so proud of these social justice warriors, otherwise known as shit fucks. We often hear lectures from Steve Kerr on important issues like gun control. While I was on vacation, I saw where Greg Popovich was once again consulting the woke wiener. I cannot remember what he was bitching about this time. It was probably mythical racism. Remember when Greg Popovich claimed Columbus Day was racist? Why are future birthing persons out of school for Columbus Day? That is so racist! I'm so concerned for the children. Oh, Pop loves the kids. Anytime I see an NBA player or coach talking politics, the message is always the same. Orange man bad. Or, we must use our platform to spread the good word. If you're the victim of a crime, fuck the police, call social worker Shanice. Which is why I was pleasantly surprised yesterday afternoon when I heard Phil Jackson's thoughts on the woke fungus infecting the NBA. Other than maybe Charles Barkley, I think this might be the first time someone closely associated with the NBA is calling them out on their woke propaganda. Phil Jackson, he was a guest on Rick Rubin's podcast titled Tetragrammation. I'm not sure what the hell that's supposed to mean. I guess Rick Rubin and his guests discuss controversial topics and issues over a nice game of Tetris. Rick Rubin asked Phil Jackson if he still watches the NBA. As someone who's been associated with the league for 40, 50 years, someone who is considered the greatest coach of all time, you would think Phil Jackson was an avid viewer of the NBA. If so, you would think wrong. Phil Jackson, he didn't quit watching the NBA because the players became soft. He didn't stop watching because star players stopped playing. The shitty officiating didn't ruin the game for him. Like millions of others, there was one reason and one reason only that made Phil Jackson turn his back on the NBA, a league that made him a legend. I'll let the Zen Master explain himself. Roll the film.
And they went into the lockout year and they did something that was kind of wanky. They did a bubble down in Orlando, and all the teams that could qualify went down there and stayed down there.
No audience.
And they had things on their back like, justice. And I made a little funny thing like, Justice just went to the basket and equal opportunity just knocked him down. And somebody had another name for a guy who has jersey in the back of a jersey, had some other slogan. So my grandkids thought that was pretty funny to play up those names. So I couldn't watch that. And the Lakers won, actually. They won that year. And
do you feel like it just made little of the game, like it made it like a sideshow? What do you think it was that turned you off?
Well, it was. They even had slogans on the floor, on the baseline. It was catering. It was trying to cater to an audience or trying to bring a certain audience into play. And they didn't know it was turning other people off, People want to see sports as non-political.
Now, before we dig into his comments, I want you to take a wild guess at how some mainstream media outlets are choosing to cover this story. KC, I am sure they are praising Phil Jackson for having the courage to speak the truth. Yeah. No! USA Today. They shook their magic woke 8-ball. They needed a good angle to completely discredit Phil Jackson. What woke boner word did the 8-ball land on? It's an oldie but a goodie. Actually, it's a classic. Mythical racism. Yeah. USA Today insinuated that Phil Jackson was guilty of mythical racism. The slogan he talks about but refuses to mention by name is the Black Lives Matter slogan. Clearly, Phil Jackson doesn't like black people. They doubled down on this claim by referencing a quote from Scottie Pippen from 2021 where he called Phil Jackson racist. Scottie Pippen, he accused Phil Jackson of mythical racism because during the final seconds of a playoff game, he called a play for Tony Kukoc instead of Scottie Pippen. Now, this was the season the Bulls were playing without Michael Jordan. Kukoc, he had hit 5, maybe 6 game-winning shots during the regular season. Phil Jackson thought it was best to call a play for his best shooter. And it worked. The Bulls won the game. After the game, people were not calling Phil Jackson a racist, but they were calling Scottie Pippen a quitter. When poor Scottie didn't get his way, he refused to go back into the game. He quit on his team. Now, Phil Jackson's explanation to Rick Rubin, as to why he refuses to watch the modern NBA, it is the same explanation millions of people have given on social media. It is the same explanation we have been saying for 3 years here on the channel. Now, I will give Adam Silver credit. I don't credit Adam Silver very often, but I do give him credit for this. During the 2020 NBA Finals, while the league was in the midst of setting record low ratings, Adam Silver listened to his fan base. He was being interviewed by Rachel Nichols at ESPN. This was right before her career was ruined by fake claims of racism. Rachel Nichols was vilified for essentially telling the truth about Maria Taylor. Rachel Nichols basically said ESPN only promoted Maria Taylor to meet the standards of diversity, equity, and inclusion. That's what us normal people call the truth. Now, Rachel Nichols, she ends up losing her job. Her career pretty much ended, while Maria Taylor became the ultimate victim, received a 7-figure contract from NBC, and began hosting events that she wasn't qualified to host, like Sunday Night Football and the Olympics. But during that interview with Rachel Nichols, Adam Silver, he promised to keep woke politics out of the NBA. And for the most part, Adam Silver has stayed true to his word. The problem is, the damage was already done. The NBA has never recovered from the summer of 2020. This past regular season, one of the least watched in the history of the league. After a promising start to the playoffs, the NBA is now seeing double-digit declines. Like I say all the time, this league cannot get out of its own way. LeBron James ruined his drawing power. Draymond Green's always had good heat, and he amplified that heat during Game 2 against the Kings. Kings-Warriors. It has been the most watched series of the NBA playoffs so far. People are begging to see Draymond Green lose, especially after he stomped on the chest of Domantas Sabonis. What does Adam Silver do? He suspends Draymond Green. Then you got Kawhi Leonard, load managing his way through the playoffs. Now, this dude refuses to play most of the regular season. I am saving my body for the real season, the postseason. After playing 2 games in the first round, Kawhi Leonard sits back-to-back games. Clippers are going to end up losing this series because Kawhi Leonard has a bobo on his knee. Now, I will give credit to Ja Morant for getting back quickly after he damn near broke his hand, but when Ja Morant's not playing basketball, he's running the streets threatening teenagers and getting into fights in the high school gyms. And Adam Silver wonders why normal people aren't willing to give the NBA another chance. Dude, you can give up that dream of getting $75 billion for the NBA's next broadcast deal. When you're drawing less than $1.5 million during the regular season and playoff ratings for most series are down double digits, it's kind of difficult to command that kind of money from television networks. If I'm Adam Silver, I'm giving a call to Dana White. I am pushing my players to be more like Jorge Masvidal in the UFC. Did you guys see that last night? In his post-fight interview, Jorge Masvidal, he praised Donald Trump, he praised Ron DeSantis, and he called America the greatest country in the world. Now, I'm not saying you have to name-drop politicians, but I don't think it would hurt the NBA if they praised America every once in a while instead of shitting all over us. Maybe, just maybe, people would be willing to give you another chance. But what the hell do I know? I'm not a shitfuck. But give me your thoughts. Phil Jackson absolutely destroys the modern NBA. If the NBA became pro-America, do you think casual fans would be willing to give them another chance? Would you be willing to give the NBA another chance? Let me know. Sound off in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe. Click the notification bell to receive all notifications from the channel. Best way to contact me is by email at btlkc84@gmail.com, KC_BTL84 on Twitter. I'll see you guys tomorrow.